Your life isn't just shaped by what happens to you, it's shaped by how you attend to it. Two people walk through the same city on the same day. One feels everything, the light, the noise, the weight of it. The other moves from task to task, screen to screen. I've been both. And for a long time, the second one was winning. Psychiatrist Iain McGilchrist spent 30 years studying the brain. What he found surprised almost everyone. We have two ways of attending to the world. One wants to get, and the other wants to understand.
So the mistake we made was, in fact, I think, of asking what the two hemispheres do, as though it was some kind of the brain was a machine. The difference is between two kinds of attention, which any living creature needs to be able to pay simultaneously. Unfortunately, they're mutually inhibitory, because one involves a very, very close, narrow focus of attention on a target that you want to get. And that's very important for survival of every creature. But if you're only paying that kind of attention, you don't last very long, because at the same time you need to be keeping a lookout for predators and for your kin, for your mate, for your offspring, which you have to be looking after while you're trying to get this. And so the other half of the brain, and in us this other half is the right hemisphere, shows a quite different kind of attention, which is broad, open, sustained, and vigilant. It's on the lookout. The reason is that each of these kinds of attentions produces a different phenomenological world. In other words, a different experiential reality. The right hemisphere's world is animate, but the left hemisphere's world is inanimate. The left hemisphere is experiencing something like a diagram of life. Very useful, like a map for getting around, but not at all like the world. When you think that the world is like what the left hemisphere tells you, then you're no longer living in the real world. You're living in a substitute, which is a representation. When you think about the word representation, it means being present again when it's no longer actually present. So it is a cheat.
We need the part that gets things done. I build websites. I break problems into pieces and solve them one at a time. We couldn't build cities without this kind of thinking. We couldn't practice medicine. We couldn't send anything into space. But somewhere along the way, the tools started running the workshop. McGilchrist tells a story. It's called The Master and His Emissary.
That there is a wise spiritual master who looks after a community so well that it begins to grow and flourish, and he realizes he needs to deputize some things to a second in command who can do a lot of the ministering work that he doesn't actually have the time to do. And so he deputizes one of his brightest and best to go about on his behalf and be his emissary. And the emissary dons the cloak of the master and goes around saying, I'm the master. He thinks, he said it to himself, well, the master doesn't really know anything. I'm the one that does all the work here, and I understand everything. And the trouble is that because he doesn't, the community declines and is ruined. It thinks it's the master. It's associated with denial. So it always thinks that everything's fine and it's going to get better because it knows everything.
McGilchrist traces this pattern through history. Civilizations flourish when both ways of seeing are balanced. Over time, the emissary takes over, but the master is still alive, locked away, but still seeing.
Your attention is a gift and is in that sense a moral act. If you took a number of your people here to Skye and you showed them this landscape that's around my house, you could have, I hope, from them a sense that it is a beautiful and awe-inspiring place, that it would be terrible if you mined. But somebody who was only interested in extracting resources and making money would look at the mountain, which just happens to be a remarkable example of columnar basaltic formation, would see this as just dollars. And so for that person, it would no longer be a beautiful thing at all. This is the short-term and emotionally, ethically, and I believe intellectually barren way of thinking about things that rules out all that is of importance. And then we're surprised that particularly young people being introduced into this way of looking at the world are having deep anxiety, having panic attacks, having deep gloom and depression, thinking of killing themselves, because what on earth is the point in being there in this valueless, pointless world?
This isn't abstract to me, because during a walk-in meditation, the boundary between self and other completely disappeared, and I was left with total mental freedom. It lasted nearly 24 hours, and it was one of the most amazing 24 hours of my life. The world the master sees isn't an idea. It's there, beneath the map we mistake for reality. So, what do? We don't destroy the emissary. We need him. We just stop letting him rule. Near the end of our conversation, Iain quoted T.S. Eliot.
The meaning of a poem is the meat that the burglar tosses to the dog while it burgles the house. And I think that's so lovely, because it expresses perfectly this idea of, the monkey mind going, oh, what is the meaning of this? And it's getting fixated on the meaning of the words. Well, that frees up. The dog is worrying its bone. And meanwhile, the poem burgles the house. In other words, it's speaking to your non-verbal mind. And that is so lovely. Dividing the united, uniting the divided is the whole business of nature. It means that you realize that there's much beyond you and that you don't know all the answers. And I think what we need to get back, I think it would be a sense of awe or wonder in life.
Because this isn't just a theory, it's possible.